Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we talk about our favorite video games and all things pop culture with an emphasis on our favorites. I'm your host, Jared, and our guest today is Danny Flexner. Danny's an interdisciplinary freelance graphic designer who specializes in pixel art illustration and animations. He has over 15 years of experience in developing creative solutions and graphics for a wide range of clients and project types. He's got 20 years of experience doing pixel art, and he has a bachelor's degree of fine arts. He has worked on games like Elsie from Night Shift Games and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind by Digital Eclipse. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at Raz-Show-Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. And with all that being said,
it's Razzle Dazzle time!
Hey, Danny, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, I'm super excited, too. You were recommended by previous guest, Pedro Guerra, who is one of the developers for Night Shift Games, and also with their latest release, Elsie, which you have also been a huge part of. And we'll get to that in a moment. But before we start, I need to know, I asked Pedro this already. He was very elusive, but I need to know, where in the world is Spark Mandrill?
Oh, man, that is a great question. I would also like to know. I know a lot of a lot of Mega Man fans would like to know.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, we don't. Now, there is some legally distinct character, maybe in Circuit City, that also looks similar, and we don't know where he is either.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, dude, I think it would be so cool. My biggest pipe dream, right, is that, like, we could get the license just to do some shenanigans or something cool. Like, Capcom will license out Mega Man for a lot of stuff, like Brawlhalla.
Brawlhalla, that was recent, yeah.
And it's like, granted, Elsie isn't Brawlhalla, right? I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, like, at this point, they might as well license Mega Man out.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be so cool. I'd love to see, because it'd be fun, because you'd have people like, or even, the guys that did 30XX, those are friends of ours too.
Yeah.
And there's so many really, and also Zoo and Berserk Boy and stuff. There's so many capable Mega Man fans out there that would love an opportunity to do something with this brand. So hopefully Capcom will do something with it. And maybe they can tell us what happened to Spark Mandrill, because I don't know.
Capcom, I know you're listening. The chances of at least one person from Capcom listening to this is, not high, but, like, I'm sure one person.
I'd take it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I think it'd also be cool just to have, like, more playable characters that, other than Elsie and Andrew, like, of course, playing as Mega Man would be awesome in this game, but, like, even playing as the protagonist, I don't know their name, of 20XX, and even Berserk Boy, like, it's just cool cameo, like, extra new players, new characters to play as. That would be cool. Well,
there's definitely plans. I mean, I don't know how much I'm not going to try to spoil. It's difficult. There's a fine line between teasing and spoiling, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why Tom Holland gets in trouble. But like, I know that we've got a lot of indie friends, and there are going to be, hopefully, maybe some updates that make little cameos or references if we can help it. If we get to that point, we want to.
Hell yeah. So. I love that. And I'm a strong believer that most of the things Tom Holland has leaked is staged. I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm sure. I wish we were that clever to do that. No, this will just be me f***ing up, like, but whatever. Pedro enthusiastically recommended me, so if I accidentally leak something, it's his fault by proxy. I don't know.
We'll just blame it on Pedro.
That's okay, yeah.
All right, now let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us, where did you grow up, and how would you describe the musical background of your childhood?
Yeah, let's see. I at first grew up in a small town in Illinois. It was like Morton or something. Like, very tiny, rednecky kind of place. And then we moved to another tiny, rednecky place in Maryland called Salisbury. And so the places were just... there was never for me as a kid like this fun thing for me to do demographically. And so I did usually turn to video games and stuff. And unsurprisingly, me personally, when it came to games as a small kid, like, I also love those soundtracks, right? I mean, we were just talking about Spark Mandrill right? Like that sound, that stage alone as a little kid, like, oh, I'm just going to start it and leave it, and
Yeah.
But the real answer to that is my parents loved the Beatles, so I listened to tons of Beatles growing up. But I also have an older brother, and he's very musically inclined. And so I grew up listening to a lot of punk rock. So there was a lot of, I think it started with stuff like Green Day, of course, and then it was the 90s, right? So like we had some grunge like Nirvana, right? Ramones and stuff. Descendants was really good. The Descendants play really fast, right? So a lot of like high energy stuff, right? Like for the most part. So yeah, a lot of fun like that.
Yeah, man. Did you have any instruments growing up? You said your brother's musically inclined, so I'm sure like he's the one who really made use of them.
He did, and even my younger brother, I think he played violin for a little bit. JP was always like really good. JP professionally has played drums in bands and stuff. He was in Beach Slang, and also the whole family has like this bend of graphic stuff, right? So we come from a family of the arts, right? Like my mom has always been very supportive and creative and stuff. My father's a retired art professor now, and all three of their boys have gone into the art field. And so JP actually played drums and stuff, among other things. But nobody really took to it. Like, the most I ever did was take a music class in like, high school or something and then play recorder poorly. So, but and to be fair, though, it's like, man, it's also... My parents have a lot of patience putting up with drums already. So I guess they also were enthusiastic for, like, we don't want more loudness. Like, just keep it all into the basement.
Understood. What kind of video game consoles did you have growing up?
So what helped is I think because my dad had always been into like tech and stuff. So we actually I grew up with an NES, right? So I was born in '89, but so like the first console I really was able to get my hands on, like literally, was an NES.
Yeah,
like, as a 3-year-old and stuff. And, like, I just remember being hooked up in the basement. And, of course, like, these are my older brother's games, right? And to a lesser extent, my dad's.
Right.
And I only know this because there was a story of, we actually had a Power Glove before I was born. Dude, I know. The only reason we don't is because my dad got pissed off that it didn't work, like, in the commercials.
Yeah.
Then returned it. I know. It's like, and now it's like this crazy, weird, piece of history and memorabilia and stuff, other damn technology, So it's just it's amusing to think about. Like, but so it's luckily that interest in the overlap in entertainment and graphics and technology has kind of always been accepted in my household growing up. So, I grew up playing like a lot of Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2 and Super Mario Brothers 3.
Have you seen The Wizard?
Yeah, I think I did see The Wizard at least once. I had to, right? I was probably in my 20s or something where I was like, man, I gotta like catch up on all this like gaming history. In a way, right? Because like you gotta, at the time, for gaming itself hasn't been around very long, right? If you want to be charitable, you can say the 70s, right?
Sure.
Really wasn't popularized, though, until after the crash of Atari, right? The video game market, and then how it got built back up thanks to Nintendo. Marketing things as toys, entertainment stuff. So it's not a very old medium, right? And you start to see the side effects of that, where, like, you compare it to certain things that comic books have gone through, movies have gone through. You talk about the formation of the USRP. And, that's a whole rabbit hole to go down, which is super fascinating. I think I tangented completely off topic of the original question, too.
Yeah, no, you're good. That was my fault because you mentioned Power Glove, you mentioned Super Mario Bros. 3. I just wanted to know if, like, The Wizard was somewhere within that time.
I bet. They probably watched it. Yeah, they probably watched it, and they were thinking like, "Oh shit, let's get the Power Glove," right? Because wow, look at and I'm sure at some point
so Dad's bad or whatever.
Oh, I know it's so bad. I love the Power Glove. And I'm sure at some point, you know, in the theater, like, video games just came out. JP's like, I don't know, he's a little kid. My dad's probably looking at him like, this kid right here, you know. He could do what Fred Savage is doing on screen right now. Just be really good at this, you know. We'll get him the Power Glove, and, you know. That's not how things played out, but, man, what a funny what if, right? Like, I don't...
Oh, man, I've always wanted a Power Glove, too. It's just...
I have, too. Apparently, they're all really gross, though, if you get them secondhand.
That's fair. I really wonder if Nintendo can, like... I wonder if they redid that, like, now. I wonder how much better it would be.
You could really actually make... I bet Nintendo specifically could make an amazing Power Glove now.
Yeah. Especially after the Wii and now with the Switch Joy-Cons, like taking that motion control stuff into account, you know, like
the trick is though they would only make it like in such a Nintendo way, right? Where like it only works for retro Nintendo games, not anything new. Nobody can develop for the Power Glove. It's just this like retro
game for the new Power Glove.
That's right, yeah. It's for the Switch 2 and all this other stuff, right? But like it only works on their retro catalog.
Oh my god, that'll be awful. But like, still like cool, as in like just to have a new one. I don't know.
Just to have it on a shelf, right?
Yeah, you know? Man. So, what was the first band or musician that really got your attention when you were young?
Man, it probably. I'd say it's a toss up, right, between like Nirvana and Green Day.
Yeah.
Because it's a toss up between it was Nevermind, right? Nirvana's first album was called Nevermind. No, Smells Like Teen Spirit, right, is what it was called. Or we can Google this. I don't know. I'm showing my age, right? But it's really, or that or Dookie. I should have just said Dookie, right? Because everybody knows, because it's hard, as far as I'm concerned, I still don't think there's a better album from Green Day than Dookie. Like, to me, Dookie was really the peak. Like, every song on that album is like a winner. I always want to listen to all of it. So I'd say as far as like, you know, the band or musicians go, probably that. Nirvana would always get really weird, which to their credit, that was what they would do. But like, you can't necessarily, man, this is the other way I know I'm getting old, right? Where like, I'll go to like a public event thing that's happening and they'll have some like bands, local cover bands and stuff that are like there to play music for me, in quotes, right? I was like, oh, great, Nirvana. And then it's like, oh. It's like, I'm at that age now, or like, you know, because like, I remember being a kid going to these events with my parents, and they'd be like, oh, I know this song, this oldies, and whatever the hell they were listening to, and then it's like, oh, shit, now it's my turn, you know? But that's okay.
Understood. From what I could find from a quick Google search, Nirvana's first album was titled Bleach in 89, and then Nevermind in 91.
You're right. I forgot. Bleach was the one that came out before. Nevermind was the big one.
Yeah.
Right? They blew up with Nevermind.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Everyone's going to write such angry comments. I can't believe that was Bleach. Fine. Whatever. It's okay. Dude, it just reminds me of all that gatekeeping shit. It's fine. That's why everyone's always so careful, right? When they're like sharing their geeky cred with each other. Right. Oh, listen to this part, you know.
God, it's an embarrassing small little story that I have about that is, oh man, I was in high school, I don't know, maybe 14, I think. And this was around the time where I first got into, like, you know, video games and, like, retro consoles, just learning the history of, like, stuff of Nintendo. You know, Smash 4 came out for the Wii U and 3DS, you know?
Nice, yeah.
So 2014, 2015, I don't remember. But back in Miami, in Sunset Place, there was a, God, I hate that it's gone now, an old school gaming place called Game Exchange. It's an old school gaming store that they had all retro consoles, video games, like whatever, everything. And I loved that place, and I was going there every week because they would do like Smash tournaments and whatever. But anyways, fast forward to like me getting close to the workers there, and like just so close enough that like they said, when you're like 18 and when we can actually like hire you legally, you can have a job here basically. And I'm like, that's cool, great. That's what I want. I remember this one day after like a tournament, and one of the store workers like had a friend of theirs who like didn't really know a lot of stuff about like video games or whatever, and they're talking about like, you know, how old is this console? When did this come out? Or whatever. Like, they're having, like, some argument or something. And the guy was like, how do you not know this? You're like, you lived through this. Even this kid who's, like, 15 knows this stuff. And he asked me, like, trivia questions. Okay, when did the N64 come out? And I said...
my God.
I shit you not. I said 1964, and he didn't correct me. He played along with it, and he was like, see? Even he knows this. And just to prove a point to, like, his friend.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
my God.
1964? What the hell is wrong with you, dude? It's 94. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Dude. 94. 94 is when No, that's fine, too. I mean, we'll say that if you want. But I'm pretty sure it was 98 for the N64. I think Super Nintendo might have been 94. I'm not trying to... I know this was just a story about not f***ing up on the dates and stuff, so I can't...
No, you're right. See, and I think this just proves our point. It came out in 96.
Okay. I knew it. There we go.
I still don't even know.
Yeah, well, dude, I mean, at a certain point, you get so old, right? Here's the thing. When you're, like, in your 20s, you've only lived through 20 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Once you get into your 30s... 30 years and memorizing all this other stuff is just so much harder to do, right? Especially if you've lived through it, because then you're just like, well, that's not...
It blends.
It just happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? You're not taking notes. Like, and that's the other thing, right? Like, man, the gaming catalog I would have had as a kid, had I known about certain games, you know? Like, I didn't own a cartridge copy, a Super Nintendo cartridge of Chrono Trigger until last year.
Dude.
Right?
Well, that cost you like $250?
Yes. Well, I was able to get it. It's actually right over here. Somebody had just traded this in at a GameStop.
Yo.
Yeah. And I had just...
Nice.
Like, I'll take it. And it was like $100.
That's good, actually.
Yeah, dude. I was like, well...
And
I haven't even
like
it, right?
GameStop retro stores?
No. This must have been like during some kind of transition thing. This was a store in Bryan, which is like a college town in Texas. And they're good people at that store. That's the other thing, right? Even if, you know, there's always a lot of people in these little niche things, like especially gaming shops, right? Mm-hmm. Makes a big difference to hire people who are also passionate about this stuff and can have these kind of conversations the whole time. Because I don't know if I would have been able to just slyly, you know, pick up this if I didn't regularly go in and like have these kind of conversations with people. You know?
Yeah, what a great find, dude.
Oh yeah.
The only Chrono Trigger thing I have is the DS version of it, and I got that like a year or two ago. And
it's still an amazing copy of the game.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And it's still expensive.
Yes. It is one of the better ways to play it, honestly.
I think so, too. It's just having the double screens, you know, it just really helps with like, the menus and all that stuff, especially in battle.
Yeah.
And I actually also bought it on the PlayStation Store for my PS3 when the servers were still up, so I got lucky.
Yeah. I also have a PS3 that's just, like, hoarding a bunch of digital games, and I'm like, I can't wait to come back and play these. And then for the longest time, I had that optimism where I'd have it like plugged into the TV, like one of these days.
Same.
Yeah.
It's plugged into my bedroom TV, like right now, like it's on my dresser. I'm like, I'm gonna play Jet Set Radio eventually.
There you go. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, the backlog of stuff to play is so real. Especially retro stuff, like because I also love playing my GameCube.
Yeah.
Like, I have an original early one, so it has the digital out.
Nice.
So I was able to get one of those HDMI converters in the back. I forget. It's like Eon or something. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. It's one of the easier brands, but, like, it is very fun to go back and just play some of these games that I never had a chance to play, like the GameCube Pokemon games. Never had a chance to go and play those games. But I also still have all the hardware, so if I really want to get crazy, I can, like... you know, play through Ruby or Fire Red and, like, transfer everything back and forth. And, like, I wish more digital stuff could do stuff like that.
Right? Yeah, man. God. Back in the day, or whatever, right?
Yeah. The scrappy nature of analog connectivity, right?
There's just a lot of cool, fun stuff you can do with that, you know? Like, is there a lot of cables and there's a lot of, like, extra hardware you gotta get? Sure, but, like, it's also fun. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, like, if we didn't have that stuff, all those cyberpunk dystopian things wouldn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, every once in a while, I'm sure there's like subreddits and stuff where it's like fake cyberpunk stuff where it's just these images of just like random chords spilling out of stuff that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're kind of there. People get a little messy with their chord management.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. To tie it back a little bit.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I love this. Don't apologize. No, this is exactly what we're here to do, man.
Okay, perfect.
This next question requires a bit of context, and I'm sure you're already familiar. I'm also a producer and audio engineer for WGCU Public Media, an NPR PBS radio station in Southwest Florida. And we have this other show called 3 Song Stories, where we tell people's biography through music. Our guest comes in, they pick 3 songs that every time they listen to these songs, they immediately get transported back to a time and place that they have a significant story associated with. I want to ask you, off the top of your head, do you have one song story you'd like to share?
Man, even though I knew this was a question the first thing I always think of when you ask this question is, man, you've got a really good voice for radio.
Thank you. I got a good face for it, too.
Yeah, and then the second thing, I think the one song that really just pops into my head immediately is Anamanaguchi's Prom Night.
Oh.
Yeah. That song is probably my favorite one from that band, right? Now I've been listening to them since the beginning, right? Like Jet Set or Jetpack Blues. I say that now, I can't name the songs, right? But right, at least before their big albums, I was like, oh, so when they got into it. But so Prom Night's really cool because it was the first concert. My now wife, she was my girlfriend when we went. That was the first concert we went to. It was an Anamanaguchi concert. Prom Night, I think, was like the last song in the set, and everybody had been chanting for it. That was really cool. And we're in, God, what is it? I want to say it's a 930 Club in D.C., because if you've ever been there, it's super tiny room, right? And it's not, I'm sure a lot of other concert halls are probably like this too, but I just remember specifically, especially at the end of a long set, right, where you have these lights, and you have this mosh pit that formed rapidly when Anamanaguchi started playing. And I see people's like shirts and stuff like torn all around me and stuff. And the mist of sweat that's evaporated in the air and the lights, just shining through this like volume. What is this, like volume lighting or whatever the 3D technology is, right?
Yeah.
And being with my wife, we're both like exhausted. But it was cool, right? That's such a cool moment. And I don't know, that song has always meant a lot to both of us, I think. And so we also, it was at our wedding. We played it at our wedding, too.
Aww.
So, yeah, I'd say Anamanaguchi's Prom.
Awesome. How does that song fit into your life today?
Man, it is interesting. Like, I still love listening to Anamanaguchi. That song in particular, just all their stuff, feels pretty seamless. I'd say it fits in seamlessly just because... I'll still listen to chiptune stuff and video game stuff all the time. I don't know. A lot of my happiest memories are related to video game things, right? Video game adjacent things, video game experiences, stuff in the culture, really the positive aspects of the culture, right? Yeah, I don't know. How does it feel? I would love to give a much more thought out answer to it, but it feels like such a complicated...
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
And every answer you give is like the right answer, so you don't have to stress about it.
I'm just gonna perpetually... I bet I would just ramble. I'll just ramble. I've probably said enough. It's a great song. I'd say that, right?
Yeah.
It's a great song. Anamanaguchi's cool, too, man. They're just... Also, it makes me think of Scott Pilgrim and like Paul Robertson's art and stuff. There's so many really cool connections to this stuff, right? Because there's all these really interesting little 7 degrees of connection to everything else. So specifically, right, it's not just that it's Anamanaguchi, but it's also Anamanaguchi plus some of their relation to Scott Pilgrim, which I find really interesting, which is also really fun, because there's something about the way that nerd culture can kind of coalesce around certain things and be kind of cohesive across different types of, expressions or medias or whatever. So I guess the more thoughtful answer to the question is that you feel really, it helps me feel really fulfilled in the nerd culture in a lot of ways because it touches on so many different aspects that I really love.
Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, took me a minute, but we got there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
To lead into your career now, where do video games fit into your life today? That's an easy one.
Boy, yeah, I guess so. I mean, they're all. I mean, I've got like stuff all over the room here, related like amiibos and other figures, not even all. Right? Man, so like I obviously making graphics for video games.
Yeah.
Right. That's a significant part of it. Most of my shirts are video game related, which is also nice. Same. Right. Yeah. Right.
Actually, I'm actually wearing a Iron Fist shirt right now.
That's cool too. I mean, it's still part of the culture as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, man.
Like, and that's really the other interesting thing too is, video games have always been a bigger part of my life. Mm-hmm. But as I've gotten older, video games being a part of your life is kind of, first of all, it's more acceptable because video games are more mainstream.
Yeah.
So it's not as, I think growing up in the 90s, when somebody said the term gamer, right, had tons of negative connotations. Even today it has, but they're different negative connotations, right? This idea of a basement dweller, etc., da-da-da. But it's like, oh no, man, that's just Ben next door, and he's playing games, and he he works for the state.
Having fun, man.
Yeah, dude's like a state employee and just loves playing Dark Souls to blow steam off at the end of the day or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like so it's not, because that's the thing, right? Gaming used to come from this really niche hobby, and that's why it started with this from this place with all these techie people, and I guess in the way I'll even do a magic trick and bring it back to me a little bit here, where so my dad, he was a graphic designer in the 80s, right? So what that really meant, though, is that he was doing pixel art. And he was doing pixel art for AccuWeather, for their bumpers in between and stuff. Oh, yeah. And so it was really cool. And so, but he also is classically trained. He has a master's of fine arts. And so the foundation of what he did was all fine art stuff, right? It was sit in this room, draw this model for 3 to 6 hours, and don't come out until it's done kind of stuff, right? And it wasn't that much different from my own, it was just 3 hours, right? With a break in between. But, but so that's the thing, though, is I think getting into video games, getting into all that stuff, I got this book called Zen and the Art of the Macintosh, and it goes through looking at, yes, this is image processing stuff. Yes, you're drawing on a computer, but it's a form of media that you're manipulating. It's, it is an art thing. It's a tool, right? And so as long as you understand the fundamentals of what you're doing, I think it can translate effectively, right? And there's limitations. Working within those limitations leads to a lot of fun creativity. And that was always something, I think having the passive influences of art all around me growing up was pretty significant, because it wasn't, not only did I have parents who weren't technophobes, right? And it's not like we got every piece of tech and stuff, but I was able to mess around on a computer,
right?
When I was young, and I was able to play Doom on there and played around with floppy disks. Up floppy disks and experience dial-up internet, learn how to type on a keyboard, some of this stuff people don't know how to do anymore. There aren't classes for typing anymore.
What's a floppy disk?
Yeah, dude. Oh, the save icon, where it's because they don't, right? Because that's the frame of reference, but
who's Clippy?
Yeah. Oh man, if only they knew, man. You know what? The people say it's Harambe. I think Clippy went missing before Harambe did. It's not that bad. I don't want to give Microsoft too much credit. But, but yeah, man. I mean, I think there is a vital part of growing up with technology in a way where it's also maturing as you are. Right. Thankfully. Man, I would, not to terrify any parents or kids, I'd hate to grow up in the internet today, right?
Whereas already so far ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
I get what you mean.
It is just, it kind of blows my mind sometimes, because I can see why some parents are like, oh, they're not getting a phone until they're a teenager or X, Y, or Z. And it's I totally get that. Because when I was a kid, you'd have online forums and stuff, and all that stuff was a lot more specific to all the niches that you were getting into. Right, I was on Mega Man forums. I was on these old Mega Man forums when I was a kid called Bob and George, and it was this comic strip. Oh man, I'm tangenting again, right? Shit. What was the original question? Shit.
Dude, you're good. Keep going.
I know. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. They're just all over the place. All right.
Oh, we're talking about like the evolution of it and how like kids today are just like they have so much already available where we had to grow as the technology was growing.
Yes, that is true. What was the original question, though?
Oh, the original question was like, what do video games, or how does video games fit into your life today? You know?
Oh, yeah. So here's what I was. So well, okay. So here's the part where, right? How do they fit in today? Shit. Well, no, I'll just start. Well, I think another interesting thing is like because I've always kind of grown up with them in this. Yeah. Right. So I used to like cut out pictures of like the sprites. I would draw them on paper, and when I was like a little kid, like so let's see, I was in the 90s. I was probably like 7 or 6 or something. Like Super Mario World had come out, right? Yeah. So I'm like drawing them out and what I'm basically doing is mimicking sprites at this point, right? And then Mario Paint comes out, and I'm also really obsessed with Mario Paint when I'm a kid. And that's another one of those things where, like, it probably wasn't just me who had to convince Mom and Dad about this, and Dad probably had a little curiosity with that one, too.
Yeah.
But definitely just hours and hours of me sitting down and, like, playing with Mario Paint, playing with, like, making my own paper sprites. So, yeah, I don't know. It's always really been a part of it. I think now it's just a stronger part of my career. Like I've always, and that's the other weird thing too, I guess, is because I started freelancing when I was in high school doing video game art when I was 17. And I kind of bounced more around. Like I've done like web stuff and graphic stuff, but I'm always more comfortable and happiest doing game stuff.
Like things related to video games other than like, I don't know, anything else?
I mean, that's a big part of it. Like, because like I can only get so excited for whatever corporate initiative is happening.
Right, that makes sense.
No, yeah, like there is, to an extent, there is some of that where like, you know, I can understand that this branding project is important to this client and what they need, right? And it's fine. But I'm not excited.
Yeah. The passion behind that. I really understand that bit. I had a professor who actually like helped me a lot to get to where I am. His name was Professor Dolan. Shout outs. His classes, the class I took with him, were very much of like learning how to use different softwares like Excel or After Effects or whatever. And we will have to like make a lot of these different projects and these graphs or whatever, but they will have to be, I don't know, kind of themed, I guess. Like we will have to, like there's a class where we had to do a lot of info showcasing stats or whatever, because it's also part of like journalism. You got to know how to like find information and like visualize it in a cohesive way. And like all the other students were doing stuff about like, hurricane related stuff, or homelessness stuff, or like food production or whatever, like normal random stuff that would be fine. But for me, I would have the hardest time thinking of anything else. So I sat down with him and he was like, "You like old school music? Like I'm a big fan of Motown and stuff, right? I love Michael Jackson, I love Prince, I love the Temptations."
Yeah.
So he was like, "Why don't you compile stats of like record sales throughout the years or something, And he made like a point, like he saw my growth to the end of the semester. He's like, when you're working on something about a topic or a thing that you're passionate about, you get to, you can like really drive it home with the quality of the production of it. But if it's anything else, I see that you'll do it, but it's not your best." I'm like, yeah, man, because I don't care about a lot of other things. I like video games and music, man.
Yeah.
So I get what you mean.
Yeah. Well, and so that can be tricky, right? When your passion is your career.
Yeah. Oh, right? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One thing that I am really thankful for in my upbringing is that my dad, because all three of us wanted to be artists, and my dad I swear, he sat us all down at the same time almost. And he made, in no uncertain terms, how difficult it is to be a professional artist. Because it's what he did too before he became a professor. And like, it's just not easy.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact of the matter is, because, you know, he was going through school when computers were starting to come on the rise, right? And you cannot use a tool or technology as a crutch or a substitution for foundational knowledge, right? But, you know, because it's so difficult to be competitive, to be, you know, successful, in quotes, whatever that looks like for whatever, right? But it's really hard. And it's not just because there's a huge chunk of people who don't respect or give a shit about art.
Right.
Even if they enjoy it, etc., blah, blah, blah. But it's like at this point, I don't want to say there's an oversaturation, but there's a lot of competition. And then it's not even just from people, right? Now we have, you know, artificial intelligence stuff happening with images and all this other stuff. And that's a whole category of controversy and a whole bunch of stuff. So it was already hard before. But I think the one thing that I think is consistent and has always been consistent in art is good foundational skills. That's why we all got a BFA, right? We all got at least a bachelor's of fine arts. We all took the long art classes and shit tons of figure drawing and model drawing and all this other stuff and painting, all the foundational skills. Because at the end of the day, if you strip away all the tools and technology, what do you have left? And it better be skill, right? Or talent, or a combination of both. Because, you know, there are a lot of, especially big companies, who would rather commoditize artists and what they produce and make content. Right. That's just like the antithesis to creativity, right? Where you're stripping away the creativity. Those kind of people really want stuff that's just nothing but a derivative of other stuff. Yeah. So, you know, on one hand, you know, AI is one of those things where the kind of people who are like really excited for it are the kind of people who I, at this point in my life, would not want to work with, just because, you know, part of the great thing about art in the first place is the human connection it forms, the getting the kind of engagement with the viewer, right? Whether it's with the music component, getting somebody to react to the sounds and stuff. Like, and you can. I hope Eric comes on the show and he talks about music, man. Because
I'm trying to get him.
Good, I'm going to bug him too. But because he takes it seriously, he understands the art form of it, and once you've worked with people who respect art and creativity, and people who haven't, you really start to figure out how to gravitate towards certain clients and the kind of work that they're looking for.
For sure. And to tie this into your work in Elsie, you probably saw that I've spoken to Chris Stair and Moi Camargo from the indie game Bo, Path of the Teal Lotus. Cool. Phenomenal game if you haven't checked it out yet, by the way. It's a Metroidvania, 2.5D, all hand-drawn, right?
Oh, awesome. I'll have to check it out.
Like yokai. It's like Hollow Knight meets Okami. Boom.
Oh,
right?
Cool. Yeah.
So great. It's one of my top games of the year. But anyways, Chris Stair not only is like the creator of this game, but he's also one of the lead artists for it. And I told him that there's something about hand-drawn art that I absolutely love and I can't get enough of, because seeing how detailed and solid something looks, I can also acknowledge the hard work, time, and dedication the artist has put into creating this entire world. And same thing with the music, which I mentioned about Moi. And for you, your background art in Elsie, and I mentioned this to Pedro on his episode, man, is it beautiful, dude? Like, the tundra, specifically. I mentioned to him, like, dude, I know there's some, like, hidden lore stuff about those ice giants and that ice dragon, you know, like...
100%.
Like,
yes.
Dude, and I absolutely love, like, as you're going through the levels, whatever's in the background eventually gets closer and closer. Like, it changes. as if you're actually moving. You're actually going from point A to point B, and you have done a fantastic job, man. Just
Thank you.
Kudos to you.
Thank you.
And that leads me to ask you, what were some of the most significant challenges you face in creating Elsie's visuals?
Well, I think, and again, thank you.
No
and
problem.
of course, I do want to stress too, like even though I was drawing that stuff, it was very much a lot of going back and forth, talking it over with Pedro and Alex, and getting feedback.
Yeah.
And what do we want for this and that? And the cool thing about that, I would say, one of the opposite issues that I want to point out is that so much of our inspiration was able to mesh with each other. Like, we're all fans of all kinds of different anime.
Yeah,
and,
clearly. I saw it. The references, dude.
And so that made it so it was easy to pitch ideas back and forth and around, because nobody was hostile towards any bad ideas or ineffective ideas, right? And nobody ever said anything was bad, right? The only thing, maybe language like this might be more effective, or this could be stronger in this scenario. But nobody tried to yuck anybody's yum, which, really helped. And then as far as the challenges go, man, if only we had more time in general to just work on the game. I could have. That's what it kind of felt like on one hand, right? Like, I would have drawn a lot more.
Yeah.
But I think one of the bigger challenges when it came to Elsie's visuals was definitely trying to balance out all the chaos on the screen and all the details on the screen. Because on one hand, of course, you can create kind of a headcanon if you're looking at the backgrounds, and you can start to put pieces together and stuff. So, like, I don't know if it'll ever be officially addressed, but I mean, that was the thing, though. Even before starting a thing like the Wharf, which was the first thing we started on, we had a lot of conversations. I wanted to know a lot. I guess that's the most challenging part, right, from the get-go, is starting with the blueprint of the environment. And for me, that's understanding a bunch of stuff about the environment, even if it will be irrelevant to the player, right? Even if it's a detail the player doesn't know, if I need to know it as the artist, right?
Right.
Like, there's certain, and I think you guys kind of get into this a bit in your Ghibli episode, there's certain character traits that are told in the composition, in the details of the background, right? That these are just kind of understated things. And they're there if you look for them, right? But you have to first have that curiosity to want to look, right? And then start noticing. Like, I know Pedro mentioned that there is some type of Mega Man X cameo in every background.
Yeah.
That's true. They're all there, and I don't know if everybody's found all of them.
I definitely haven't. The biggest one that screams out is Spark Mandrill.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, we're all fans and geeks, and there's so many of those little references in there.
Yeah.
And you really can't, some of it is, none of that was necessarily the challenge, but it was like so much of it is, I don't know. I guess it's like there's not that's just the fun part, is like getting all these little references and in-jokes and stuff. I think the challenge is probably knowing when to rein that in. Maybe. Not everything can be a fan service, right? Not everything can feature creep either. Like, that's the other thing. As much as everybody would love to do that, there's like a graveyard of ideas that, couldn't make it in for one reason or another.
Right.
The biggest challenge is just creating visual harmony, though, at all times, one way or the other. And there are certain ways to, take things in that direction. But I think we also really wanted each area to have a lot of personality. And each area, man, I swear, some stages went through a lot of iterations before we settled on a color scheme or a palette, and some of it would change based, obviously, on feedback. But then, for example, one thing that we needed to do to try to reinforce some visual clarity at all times. The player's projectiles tend to be white, and enemy projectiles tend to be black, have a black core or something. And I think when we did that, we then needed to go back and tweak some of the backgrounds because the backgrounds were, arranged or colorized with the idea that these projectiles, these effects are going on, and they look like this. And so now a little more harmony has to be pushed or changed so that, visually things read well. And I don't know. I think at a certain point, the fundamentals of stuff, you just keep them in mind. Like one of the things I do when I'm drawing, for example, is, you essentially try to draw in black and white first. And when it comes to pixel art, that looks like drawing with values instead of hues, because that's also how you can make more colorblind friendly assets. Obviously you can do patterns and other things that help with those kind of accessibility things. But, if you draw something and then you turn it black and white and you can still see the right appropriate amount of depth and stuff, usually that means it's going to translate pretty well if you have to tweak colors later.
Right.
So I'd say being flexible was another part of the challenge, even in that sense, but that's fine. I think that's just a thing you got to do for game dev.
Right. Yeah. And I've noticed a few years ago, like before the release of Elsie, I think 2022, Gerard the Completionist was showcasing the game on X Games or
G4.
G4, yeah.
Yeah, I loved that. That was such a cool moment.
Right? And
loved that.
I am a major fan of Gerard. He's one of my role models? What's the word?
Yeah.
Yeah, role models.
He's a good guy. I love him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he was showcasing the game, and I saw that, and watching how different the game looked in 2022 than it does now, already released. Like, he was playing through the Cloud City portion of the game, and man, there's just a lot of grays and dark colors and stuff, but like now, color explosion, dude. Like, just the vast differences in that is incredible, and I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing. So Gerard. So let's see. Gerard got me involved in the project because I think I was a part of his, 10-year anniversary zine, and so I did this completionist spread, and it was pixel art. Yeah, and so it was all done in pixel art.
That's awesome.
And it was just it was like this beat 'em up kind of thing, where it was like, this is the first season of the completionist, and all the stuff in there is stuff from the first season. I'm pretty sure, at least at the time, I'm pretty sure that's what I did.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and Gerard and I have worked on a couple other projects too. Obviously, the zine wasn't him and I working together on something. That was just the zine, and then like everybody who worked on the zine got a chat with Gerard to meet him. But then after that, I worked with him on the Twitch the Twitch assets for Adam Cole. He goes by the Chugs on Twitch. Really fun streamer, pro wrestler and stuff. And we did a bunch of really fun animations on there. Like whenever people subscribe, he does Cloud's like Ultimate and stuff, and like launches a Tonberry plush up in the air, and just I freaking love it. And so he's fun to watch, and he's a really nice guy. I also love his Professor Chug stuff, where he goes on, he like lectures or gives quizzes about game stuff. Dude, it's great too, because like he's such a great entertainer because of, I guess, I'm sure it's a lot of reasons, but because of he knows how to wrestle. Right. And so he really knows how to like engage with a crowd effectively, and like it's just really fun to watch him. So anyhow, Gerard introduced me to Elsie, and he was like, "Hey man, I think this game's really good. Just need some help in the visuals, but like it's looking pretty cool." And I was like, "Okay, and like I played it, and it's like, okay, yeah, this game does feel really good, and really does just need help with visuals." And so then he introduced me to Alex and Pedro, and so the first thing we did. Pedro and I just had a lot of conversations about the visual style. And one of the things he really wanted was the colors and the pop and he likened it a lot to Miami and stuff.
South Beach, hell yeah, baby, 305.
Right, yeah. Dude, and I could see it. And I was about it. And I was like, this, because I mean, I've at least been to Key West. I know that's not the same, right? but like,
it's down there.
It's down there. It's in Florida, right? But I just but the fact was Pedro had such a strong idea of where the game needed to go, and it was working, and I could tell it was working, and I wanted to bolster it, supplement it, right? Like just reinforce everything. So like the stuff that they had, I thought was fine already. And the way I kind of termed it to them was I wanted to punch it up a little bit. And I don't know, maybe that's just a way of saying that I'm bringing my years of experience in drawing and just making it, look like it has a little more experience behind it. Maybe. Like I don't know what a good humble way of saying. I just wanted to make it look a little nicer, right?
Yeah.
and that's what they wanted too. And luckily, there were a couple pivot points with some of the assets, right? Where some were pretty ill-defined, right, or undefined, not in a bad way. Just a lot of there wasn't anything to take and retranslate, and so it was like, well, we'll just come up with a motif, come up with the visual design and harmony and stuff. Because there were some environmental sketches, concept art sketches that were left from the prior background artist. I think his name is Brian. I'm not sure. Pedro would know, but I didn't meet him. Otherwise, I'd remember. But he left some really great stuff. And it was like, well, we can't, not all of it can be translated, not all of, there were even some stuff that changed a lot technically as we went along, as far as like I wanted Circuit City to have a lot more animations and stuff, for example, initially. And some of those things get scrapped in favor of clarity, for instance. Like you can't necessarily have a lot of round spherical things as animated things in a game that has a lot of round spherical things flying around the screen. Yeah. So, certain stuff has to be reconceptualized or thought of in a way that's unobtrusive to the gameplay. So I guess that was always a challenge too, right? Like just make sure it doesn't, and and for the most part, I think we succeed in that. I mean, we have the accessibility controls in case people have more issues with delineating certain things, so we're trying to be conscientious of as much as possible.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think you guys have done an amazing job at that, especially I love that the accessibility stuff is just, right off the bat, you're able to change these certain settings to make sure that you're enjoying the game as much as possible right from the get-go, because that's also like a big point that Pedro really wanted to convey for this game. It's like, yes, it's a roguelike. Yes, you're supposed to die a lot, but, it's also supposed to be like a power high, a power fantasy or whatever. Yeah. You're supposed to be able to have fun and just, mow down everything that comes in your way. That's the point. And if, you don't want to just end up dying every 2 rooms, as soon as you boot up. So, yeah, and I think you guys did an amazing job. I do want to talk about the pixel art a little bit more. Pixel art in general, right, is often seen as nostalgic because, of course, it is. Because, 16-bit era, 8-bit era, and all that stuff. But Elsie takes a very modern... or has a very modern take, very kinetic field, because of how fast-paced and the action is just ranked up, right? How do you strike the balance in finding the classic aesthetic of pixel art and the need to make the game feel fresh and exciting with your work? I hope that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Because it's funny, because I've worked on enough projects now that there's a couple of different delineations that I've noticed when it comes to pixel art, especially as an entertainment medium or style, right? Like I've worked on some projects where they say it's retro, and what they'll want to do is maybe a lot of retro rendering. So maybe that's a lot of dithering. Or maybe they adopt some other tendencies when it comes to the way it's usually referred to as clustering. When you cluster pixels, that's the more modern way of describing how you're rendering pixels by shading and things like that. And dithering just isn't used as much anymore, right? And so when it comes to the term retro, sometimes I see people try to lean into these old visual sensibilities, where dithering used to be a lot more significant on CRT displays, partly because of how those generate images line by line, cathodes and stuff like that. And so you'd get this blurring. The aspect ratio of pixels weren't perfect squares necessarily. They were kind of squished a little bit. And so you're compensating. So there's, if you draw with that in mind, you definitely get a certain aesthetic that looks like it came out of a certain era. I've worked on a game once. It was called Life of Pixel. Mm-hmm. A lot of fun because you're this little green pixel and you're going through all these different eras of games, different eras of game consoles. Mm. And so Pixel takes on like a Z32X kind of thing, or ZX, some really old low-res stuff, some Atari stuff. He goes into the NES. He goes into the Genesis. He goes onto the Super Nintendo. He goes on to, there was some other just like really niche stuff.
Right.
But so working on that game, each console has its own set of console limitations, right? So if you're not cognizant of that when you draw it, you can get something that looks retro, but it's not accurate. Right. So you get this weird pseudo-retro thing. And I've noticed a lot of companies, if they aren't from a gaming background and they're like, we're doing this retro gaming aesthetic, right? That's when you start to see a lot of weird stuff where like, well, this is made in pixels, so it all matches with like complete disregard to like style clashes and other stuff going on with it. So I've also seen that where there's a portion of the general population that thinks that, pixel art and retro or just anything pixely counts, right? And then the last is like, you have that pixel purist where like, we also want the water effect to be vivid, right? And it's like, well, I don't think we need to go that far. And I think for me, when it comes to, and especially the way I approached Elsie with the visuals and stuff, was first of all, Pedro and Alex were like, yeah, of course, go ahead and if you want to do like, there weren't hard limitations because we weren't working with a hard piece of hardware that had hard limitations, right? But of course, we still wanted the game to have visual cohesion.
Yeah.
So, we never had a formal talk like, no more than this many colors or anything, right? But the way I kept likening it to was like, when developers were developing things for the arcades back in the 90s, in the early 80s and into the 90s, early 2000s stuff, right? They weren't thinking in terms of the pixel art aesthetic. They were thinking in terms of a graphic aesthetic. Mm. And when you think about the background of pixel art, right, when you think about it as the original graphic design, right, and it's just with raster-based images with pixels because that's how everything started, I think you can kind of get to a fun kind of seesaw, right, of technology and aesthetic, where it's like, yeah, of course, a simple gradient isn't a big deal with certain aspects of things, right? As far as like a buffer, maybe, to some visual clarity, but I think no matter what, right, it's regardless of limitations and everything else, is just draw it to look nice. Mm-hmm. That's always my guiding principle when it comes to any client work, is like, even if I'm handed something and they want me to do like a small part of it, if like the rest of it can't fit together because there's like a technical disparity, it's like, I gotta fix the rest of it now. Like which can be kind of a pain in the ass, but like people are gonna notice, right? They notice whether they call it out, whether they're cognizant of it or not, they notice effective detail work. And they notice more specifically the absence of it. And so if you just do a small modification to something and it's incongruent with quality and execution, and it's an outlier, we're not in the age anymore where like stuff just flies by the screen. Everybody can pause on any frame with media.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I want every post to look good.
Yeah, of course. I completely understand. I always love it when also the interviewee answers multiple questions.
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
At
Good.
once. No, that was a really thought out answer, and I really appreciate that, man. I think that is I think that's something that I don't think I've ever considered when looking at pixel art, because I just see it as, this conversation now is making me think of different games that I love already differently, like even newer retro style games like Sea of Stars, The Messenger, right? Hyper Light Drifter, all these different, gorgeous, amazing, beautiful. amazing pixel art, but the things you just said make me think of them a little bit differently now. So, so thank you for that. And
yeah, man.
And before we get into the speed round, I just want to give a quick shout out to Elsie. It is a fun, amazing game. I put it in maybe, I think like over 40 for sure, maybe closer to 50 or 60 hours in it.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm waiting for like the big update. I still haven't gotten the platinum yet. All I need, and this infuriates me because I could have done this already. All I need are both Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Masks sets for those trophies. And what infuriates me about that is I didn't know that I could just like buy them all at once to then get the trophy. That was like before I was told by like Pedro from our emails that like, oh yeah, you can do it like this, and I'm like, oh okay, I got the rest of the sets easy, but now like the RNG just doesn't want to give them to me, and it sucks.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about that stuff. That's definitely, as a group, we've definitely talked about the challenges that have been presented, because you're not the only one.
Yeah,
right. Where it's like, and even when I'm playing, like I played today, you know, I was like doing my runs, and I was like, this RNG. You know, but like, and to an extent, right? It's interesting with roguelites just because the genre's kind of been around. It's been around for a bit now.
Yeah.
If you really want to, you can make the argument that the original Zelda game was the start, right? But like, how far do you go when it comes to player choice and having players roll with the odds?
Yeah.
And I think right now we're kind of having those conversations.
Yeah.
And for sure, go onto the Discord and get
I'm already there.
Inputs. Everybody.
I've been doing
everybody
it,
should. You know, everybody go onto the Discord and give your opinions on it and your thoughts and all that. Well, because it is, I think feedback is really valuable
for sure
for this kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, because it is. Like, I've been such a long time Warframe player, for example, and like Digital Extremes does such an amazing job with how they talk to their community and, you know, and how they respond to feedback, at least historically. I'm sure there are some people who would like, oh, they did blah, blah, blah. I've always thought they've done a pretty good job. But I mean, that's especially when it comes to RNG stuff, is I think the main point is like, trying to balance around randomly number-rated right? That's what it stands for.
Yeah.
Random number generated. So there's so many permutations and scenarios that are hard to take into consideration that, yes, of course we want to balance it so people just can always have their fun run, right? So, yeah, we definitely want to hear more about people's experiences and thoughts with that stuff.
For sure, man, and it's so amazing to hear that from a studio that they're like, yeah, tell us what's wrong. We want to fix it. We want to make sure you're having fun. And like this thing I'm about to say, I already mentioned it like in the Discord, and I even emailed Pedro personally about it. Like Andrew has this passive when he levels up that when you upgrade it fully, every 100 kills you get a new part, right? And in multiple runs, I would go all the way to the final boss, and there's a way to like kind of make the final boss get stuck in position in like in a mid jump, so they can attack, but the drones keep spawning. So I would spend multiple hours, like 2 or 3 at a time, farming those drones to randomly get the parts I want, the Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask stuff.
Holy crap!
Never have gotten them. Never. And I've gotten so many heart pieces. Like, I'm not even kidding. So many to the point where the heart meter went past the screen.
That's incredible. Is this the PlayStation build?
Yes.
Okay. It's funny because I've been playing Elsie on everything, of course. Yeah. And I've played it on the PlayStation build. And unfortunately, right now, it has some bugs that need to be fixed. And those are definitely...
I know. And on top of that, I can't buy everything on the shop for some reason because the last 4 drops I need, blueprint drops I need, aren't dropping. And you would think, like, after all this grinding of thousands of drones, it will drop.
Amazing.
No.
That's an amazing data point. Like, I really want to. I'll tell Alex we got to replicate this because it's incredible. I just lock Andrew in a room with drones and just parry them all or counter them all until they break. Like, man.
And I'm not like trying to diss on the game or anything. Like, there's bugs.
That's an amazing bug. Dude, honestly, bugs are one of my favorite things about game development. When something dumb and amazing happens because of a bug, like it's funny, it's hilarious to me because so many of my favorite moments in games, anyhow, are like when I'm having a ridiculous bug that's like making me laugh about it. Yeah, like I've definitely been in situations in like Warframe, especially, where like there's some kind of bug that because you're thinking just a little bit differently, or a little more innovatively, because you might understand the mechanics of the game pretty well. You're like, if I just do this and this, I won't lose. I might not win, but I won't lose. Yeah. Right? So I don't know, man.
Or like Halo 2, where you can like, there's a certain level where you can just like clip behind, like beyond the city or whatever. You know, like stuff like that is hilarious and awesome to find.
Yeah, obviously we need to fix it.
Yeah.
But, it's a funny story until it's fixed.
Yeah, and that's why I said, like, I'm waiting for the update because at this moment, I literally cannot get the platinum unless the bugs get fixed. So I'm like,
maybe we can get you a Steam code or something, just because Steam will get updates quicker. This is just another dev thing, right? Where it's so much easier to get updates out on Steam and PC.
Yes, I've heard and I've noticed.
Mainly it's because you don't have to go through console certification every time.
Right.
So every time we send an important big update to Sony or Nintendo, or Playtonic does or whatever, right? Yeah. Nintendo and Sony have to be like, got to make sure this doesn't break stuff, And it's like, all right, didn't break stuff. You're good to go on this Tuesday, right? Or whatever Tuesday comes up, and So that's just, but that stuff is getting better with time, just as far as developers and the license holders, the platform holders and stuff with updates. They're starting to realize, because platform holders that they also want a lot of people playing games, and I think they've realized that, like, if we let these live service games update as much as they want, people keep playing them on our platforms. Like, so we'll see if they keep catching on to that. There's, man, for every... It's just like the Sony thing in particular, like the PSN memberships, right? How they've started like enforcing that for their PC games seems so counterintuitive to me. Because like you could have had people who are in these other marketplaces where PSN doesn't exist and do have a PC and would play these games, but now you've told them they can't. So. I don't know. It is an access thing, right? Like, I want people to be able to play games.
Of course.
It's a really nice... I think it's a great hobby to have. A great passion. More people should play games.
Yeah. But yeah, and I'm also like, there's another fire lit under my butt to like get this platinum because I mentioned to... I plugged like our review episode on Elsie and Pedro's episode on the Completionist Discord. And Gerard saw it and he's like, "Oh, cool, man! Like, thank you for like liking it. I'm glad you got to talk to these people." I'm like, "Yeah, man." I told him about like my current progress in getting the platinum, and he's like, "Oh, shoot, that's awesome, dude! Maybe you can be like one of the first people to like get the platinum." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's coming from my role model, my hero. Like, I want that."
Yeah. Oh man. Dude, it'd be cool, man. It's hard to complete games.
Yes, it is.
Because before Gerard did his YouTube channel, right? I was also one of those people like, I love completing games. And then Gerard has his channel. And I was like, this is for me, right? Like,
same.
And he starts with Mega Man X. I'm like, I'm all about this, right? So. Yeah, man. But that's the thing. Everybody who worked on Elsie, right? Because Pedro and Alex and Eric are this way too. We love that type of stuff in games. We love that not only if you feel compelled to complete it, but we want there to be a payoff for it.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
Like, I know
completion bonus, baby.
That's right, and I mean, you even look at there's stuff that's coming in the game, right? That isn't there yet, right? Like Jackie, for example.
Yeah,
and she keeps track of all that stuff, all that data.
Cafecito?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I hope so. Yeah.
Terra,
yeah, dude. I'm excited for that. And you can change the heat level.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a lot of fun stuff that we definitely want to do and that we definitely have planned. And we don't have anything to announce formally, though, yet. I know I have to say
as
that
of recording.
Yes, as of recording. Nothing to officially announce. And frankly, whatever it is that I would try to, it just wouldn't be articulate enough. I'd screw it, so I'll just conjecture it into oblivion. But shit, we are pretty excited. I mean, the one thing that I'm the most excited about is Eric's Music Island and the collectibles associated with that.
Cool.
And we'll see if I really want all that to come to fruition. But I don't think that's been because, man, the one consistent thing, as everybody should be doing, is asking about the soundtrack because it's so good.
It's so good.
So amazing.
Dude, in the Rose Garden, God, I love the salsa so much.
Eric is a master, like, every genre.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how he did. Like, I've always just been, to me, I know people must think it sounds corny when I say this, but, like, every time I hear the stuff he's put together in Elsie, it feels so timeless to me. Like, it's always been a part of the video game, like, landscape. Like, it just seamless. Like, you know how when Wreck-It Ralph came out and everyone's like, this looks like a game that could have been? Like, that's how I feel with Eric's music and Elsie. Like, this seems like it could have just been here all along in game history.
It's like in Mega Man X3 or something.
Yeah, right? Like, that's kind of, like, it's so good. Like, the stuff in Circuit City with the saxophone.
God. Oh, I love it so much. As a saxophone player, God.
Oh, well, there you go, right?
Yeah, man.
Oh, it's hard to beat that.
It really is.
and it's one of those things, too. I remember when he was working on it, they were like, Danny, what do you think of this? And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Because it was so different. Yeah. Right? Like, and it was such, like, I think he might have even pulled it back a little bit. But, like, I hope he comes on and can talk about it. Because, I don't know, man. Eric is really good at what he does.
Yeah. And you are, too. Like, you know, we're talking about every aspect of Elsie. But, again, to, like, bring it back, your art's in it. Phenomenal, dude. It's just there's just so much detail, and like the point I think I hope I made it earlier is seeing the hard, like, I can tell you've put in a lot of hard work, time, effort, you know, into making all of these backgrounds and all the visual, like, dude, it's so good. I can't it's hard to fully express because, you know, it's art, right? Like, it's phenomenal.
Well, what really helped is, like, everyone on the team, you know, I personally found everybody on the team that I was working with really talented and skillful. And that really helps, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because Fernando, like, he was already on the team and he had already been making these amazing animations, you know, for Elsie and for Andrew and for nearly all of the bosses. I think he got busy at a few points, so I had to do one or two bosses. And so I got to do the Slime King, which I loved doing.
Yo, La Baba?
I love La Baba Royal.
Hell yeah, dude!
It was my favorite. Because, I think part of it was also just my, you know, I've got like a Yellow Devil shirt. I've got like a...
Dude, I knew it, dude!
Yeah, I have like a Yellow Devil, I have like a Mega Man shirt for every day of the week or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I was pretty happy to do
a Yellow Devil,
yeah. And because, you know, it was pretty much like, here's a list of stuff we need. I was like, okay, cool. And I just see, like, the thing that, like, got me so hyped for it, right? The character design was already done. It was another contractor. He just went by Salt on Discord, I think. He is listed in the credits. He should be there as a character sprite designer, I think. And I think it got passed off for Fernando, and he did another pass at tweaking some of it for animation. And then it got to me, and I was like, I love this guy. And I only made a couple little tweaks just so I knew what chunks moved where.
Yeah.
But the first thing I saw, like, I loved his crown, and the first thing we needed to do was a punch. And I just was thinking, like, man, when are we going to get another chance to do something like this? I could make it a really simple punch, right? Like the Rainbow Devil does in Mega Man Zero, right? Where it's like just a punch.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, how cool would it be if the Slime King La Baba Royal goes to punch, the crown becomes a ring on his fist.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay. And nobody said I couldn't do it. Like, and so it was like, all right, I'm just going to make this boss as weird as possible. As weird and also as eccentric as possible.
Yeah.
And so, like, the fist, I think, maybe we did the idol first or something, but the fist, I think, really helped set the tone for how weird we wanted it to be, as far as, like, the personality quirks of it and everything like that. But then, like, I think there was some of it, this is so much of, like, one hand washes the other, where it's, like, we needed a movement where it, like, dolphin arced and stuff. And it's like, well, there's a lot of ways we could do that. And I don't remember if we thought out the way it opens its mouth and the tongue and everything by then.
Very Venom.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Definitely an inspiration, because I also wanted to just... I don't remember if... we must have done the death animation first. And I know Yoshi and I were chatting about whether or not it should be an eye or something. And it was like, well, Mega Man series always does an eye.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Like, and that's one of those other things where this is a thing where creativity and the game design need to intersect in a way where you're not subverting expectations too much, or I think it becomes... there came a point in the design for La Baba Royal, right, where with the eye thing, where, like, it's good design because it's clear.
Yeah. To
the player, you need to hit the eye. But it felt too derivative of Mega Man purely, right? Yeah. So I was like, well, but I really want to make it weirder. So I made it so he has to, like, lick his own eyeball back into his body before pulling himself together. And again, since nobody stopped me, we went ahead with it.
Yeah.
Like, so as long as I've also found, and there were even in Power Rangers, because I also worked on Rita's Rewind is also coming up. I hope everybody gets excited about that one too. That's a cool game. Shout out to Digital Eclipse, really great developers working on that game too. But at least in that case, right, there was one bit of feedback where, like, a publisher's like, well, don't show the midriffs, right? Mm-hmm. You know, so, like, sometimes there are lines and limits, and it's stuff that's really innocuous because of an age rating or, you know, family, you know, engagement, whatever, right? But if you can get away with the weird stuff, I prefer getting away with the weird stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I love all this. Oh, man. Yeah, man, you guys have done so much to make this game what it is, and it's an amazing product that you guys put out. You know, with the 8 years of development time, you know, clearly a lot has changed through this time, and even, like, recently within the past 2 years, like we mentioned, it's so easy to tell there's so much love and passion put into this project, and you guys have made a beautiful thing. It's honestly something that's been very hard to put down for me for the longest time, dude. The only reason why I put it down is because, like, the new Zelda game came out, you know, and, like,
hey, fair enough, man. Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, I'll still be, you know, trying to get the Sailor Moon and the Tuxedo Mask items, you know.
I hope the update makes that so much easier for you.
I hope so too.
I can't get platinum either right now on my, you know, PS5 playthrough. So I hope it comes out soon.
Me too. Yeah, hopefully, I really hope, like, real talk, because I have no idea when this is coming out. I really hope I get this platinum before that. So future me, let me know now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now let's get into the speed round where I'm going to ask you a bunch of silly random questions and we're going to see how you do. You ready?
I'm going to do my best not to ramble.
If you were the final boss in a video game, what would your title be?
Oh, man. I bet you it's like Devourer of Worlds or something, unless that pisses off Disney that it's not. So it's Danny the Soreback, Danny the Sleep Deprived. Let's see. It has to be something like that. If I was in my 20s, it'd be more edgelordy for sure. It'd be like Danny the Black Belt or something, right? It'd be I don't know, or like I've got an arm cannon.
Super fighting robot.
Oh God! See, I should have gone with that. That's so much better.
You can take it.
Super fighting robot. Damn, dude. Super fighting artist, even.
The super fighting artist.
Yeah, I'll go with that. That's so much better. See, this is what it takes, though. This back and forth creative stuff. That was brilliant.
Yeah, man.
Tired, man. That was great.
What would your boss theme music be? And you can choose any song from anywhere.
Oh, the Ruby Spears opening for Mega Man.
Oh,
it has to be. Yeah, super fighting robot.
Yeah, man.
Mega Man. God. Yeah, it's got to be that. Yeah.
For a weird show, that intro it's good. That song's a good song.
It is. Oh, dude, there's also a German version. Look up the German version.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Wowie.
It's simpler times with Floodlight, right? Oh, jeez. I take it, though. I'll take Floodlight if that's what it means for a new Mega Man game. I'll take it. Elmer Floodlight. I'll do it.
If you were a superhero, what would your name be?
Crap. That's not what it would be. I just got to think. Superhero name.
And the follow-up is what powers?
Oh, man. I think it'd be cool to have... It's easier to answer the power one first, because it'd be cool to have like size power from Naruto Shippuden, right? Where he could like draw in and would come to life.
Oh yeah, or like friggin' Okami too, you know?
Yeah, there you go. That would be cool. I would just my man. I wish I need to go back and watch more like My Hero Academia. But there's like got to be some good names to get inspiration from. I don't know. What's a good like. Let's see, nothing that has sketch in it. Like, this is when you start, like, listing down a bunch of names not to use, right?
Yeah.
Like,
the Sketcher.
Yeah, I don't want to be sketchy. Don't do that, right? It'd be, I don't know, Draw Guy. I don't maybe, shit. I don't know. The Pixel Painter. There we go.
Pixel Painter. That's nice.
Yeah.
I like the,
alliteration.
Alliteration, there you go.
Yeah, like a Peter Parker.
Exactly, superhero names.
That's right.
If you can live in the world of your favorite childhood show, movie, or game, which one would it be and why?
It's probably got to be Pokemon.
That's it's such a perfect answer, dude.
Yeah, well, especially childhood Pokemon, when there's only like 150 to 250.
Gen 1 and 2.
Yeah. Not only is, first of all, way less terrifying Pokemon and problems.
Fair.
Right? There's not Ultra Beasts,
right,
that come in through wormholes and all this other stuff. But also, more importantly, the economy and the culture is so good that there's free healthcare for 10-year-olds going on their, individual journeys, and like that's insane. What a utopia!
I guess to be more specific, is like free pet healthcare.
That's true. I just assume the anime does glamorize it. You're right.
Yeah.
For all I know, Ash and company used to like put down lots of money every time they go to a Pokemon Center. I don't know.
But then again, like they get shocked and blown up and on fire all the time, and they're fine. So like maybe.
That's true. I mean, I think maybe Legends Z to A, because like the first Legends games kind of got into it, right?
Yeah.
Because like you can actually get your ass kicked by a Pokemon in Legends.
Yeah.
Right. Like there weren't huge consequences for it. It was like losing a battle, but they got to do. You can't. What do you do? What do you do with somebody that Charizard just ran over? Right? He's a giant. He's a lizard. He's a fire lizard, and he can fly. Not a dragon, because he's not dragon type. But man, I hope there's Pokemon-related health insurance for the trainers. There's got to be something going on.
That's a good point, man. Yeah. But no, Pokemon will always be my answer too. And strangely enough, you're like the only other person to say Pokemon to that question.
Hey man, we've got good taste. What can I say?
Who's your favorite Pokemon? Is it Gengar?
Oh shit, that's my wife's favorite Pokemon.
Ah, okay.
Between Gengar and Psyduck. For me, man, it changes. It's probably Scizor. I tend to gravitate towards Scizor. I got a Scizor plushie on my shelf over there.
Gotcha.
Because he's not only a robot, but he's also cool.
Yeah.
Pinchers.
The name is cool. Just Scissor, just pronounced weird.
So yeah, he's pretty cool, man. Also, he was like fun to use with Technician and stuff. for Gen 1, it's probably Hitmonchan, though. Like, Gen 1 Hitmonchan is not very good. Like, he gets all the special punches and everything, but I just thought he was cool.
Yeah.
Like, I love the novelty of it. Back then, a Pokemon's novelty could just be the moves they learn. It's not like that anymore. Like, there's a lot more that goes into it. But, like, in a vacuum, Gen 1 Hitmonchan is pretty neat.
Yeah. I like that you also have a Gengar Squishmallow because Alex and Kelly has a Gengar Squishmallow like right next to them whenever they record.
Brilliant.
Also had Kelly on the show recently, so
cool.
That was a big dream come true for me too.
Oh, that's awesome, dude! I loved watching the decks.
Me too. I know. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
I always loved. My wife and I used to watch it all the time, and I always loved hearing Kels' impersonations.
Same.
Come on. Yeah, I always loved it. So I was all about. I'm happy they got married. That's really cool.
Right?
You know.
Yeah.
I think that's great. So,
I was as happy for them to get married as when I found out that Tom Holland and Zendaya are dating.
Yes.
That's like the equal level of happiness.
Yes.
There.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a big deal for me to have both Alex and Kels on the show because it's because of them. That's how I got started into liking video games and all this pop culture stuff. That's how it led me to Gerard and my mentality on how I play games. And it's a big snowball. But the Dex is the nexus, is the starting point for me. That's why it's like
that's so cool. Yeah.
And to have them both be voice actors in this game, I'm telling you, this is a dream come true for me to be able to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I exactly know what you, because I'm also fans of all the people we got to voice stuff.
Yeah,
right? Like there's and here's Gina and Avalie. They're also on G4.
Yeah,
and Fiona's on there too, and a girlfriend plays. She did an amazing job, and I don't know all the people right and all their but we got so many people that I have enjoyed their work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another really cool thing that I've found in getting older. Like when I was younger, you started off doing pixel art and video game stuff. One of the things that I remember, my dad even mentioning was just, send out stuff to some of these video game companies and do this and that and this, right? And eventually what winds up happening is, in a way, that by itself doesn't pay off, right? But you continuing down this path, and you find out, you wind up meeting all these people that you grew up enjoying, right? Because now you're also in that realm of the profession, right? You're all, so it is really, really cool, and I've seen it with my older brother and his line of work. He's got to meet a bunch of musicians and stuff that he grew up listening to. Same with my younger brother and his work and people that he's watched and shit like that. So it is really cool. If you really get into your passion, you make it your career, you do eventually get to meet all these people you grew up admiring.
It's a beautiful thing. I started this show 5 years ago now. If you told me that I'll be able to talk to these people 5 years ago, I would say you're full of shit, dude. Dude,
I know what you mean, though. Yeah. Because, X amount of years for me, right? And I was man, working on, on this game with these people. There's something amazing about doing the original stuff, right? Like Elsie. But there was also another thing that was, I was also, when I got to work in the Power Ranger game, one of the first things I got to do was work on the boss Bones. And I had the original Power Ranger game on the Super Nintendo, and that was one of the games I would play over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And Bones was the first boss. And so there's this amazing point for me where it's wow, so much of this has come full circle.
Yeah.
Where this was one of those games that was really formative for me, and you pause it, you stare at the pixel art, and then years later, 20 years removed, I'm literally pulling up that sprite as a reference. I'm all right, I gotta draw it better than this one. And there's something so fulfilling about it.
It's so true.
There's something healing to that child, that inner child, right?
100%. Oh my God. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
What did we say about tangents? I forget.
We were going to not do them. Sorry.
Don't be sorry. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Okay. Which character from your childhood favorite show, movie, or game would you most like to have as a friend in real life?
Oh, man. Who would be a good friend from a childhood game? Probably Mario, right?
Yeah.
Mario's probably one of the best friends you could have. And also, he's had so many... I bet you it's easier to say that just because of all the media depictions of Mario. And, from, the live-action ones with, Lou Albano or whatever, right? And the Mario Brothers Super Show and stuff. So, you could... Because you actually got to see some of, the benign life of Mario and Luigi. And it's hey, what happened pasta, And, maybe I'd get some good pasta, some good Italian food if Mario was my friend.
Definitely,
and also...
dude. He would know how to cook.
They alluded to it in a bunch of different shows that he knew how to cook. And if you're ever in trouble, Mario's going to come save you.
Yeah.
I don't know what his relationship is with Peach, but at the very least, she can count on him to come rescue her.
100%. Great answer, man. If your current favorite show or movie were to be adapted into a musical, what genre of music would you envision for it?
Oh, man. I think it would be super cool if they did. It would have to be a Mega Man Broadway, right? and what they would do is because they could do some real good stuff. That Mega Man has such strong roots in music. Most of the cast is named after some kind of music thing, right?
Very true. Bass and treble.
That's right. And then there's even reggae and tango and rock and roll.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that would be cool. You could really, I think, and even if you look at, if it was, the first game, even, you would just have, 6 acts or something. You could vary the music in between. I don't know. I bet it would be cool.
I think it would be cool if, for those different musical-themed bosses, it would be those musical numbers will match for those bosses, like reggae, it would be like a you know what I mean? Like tango,
it would be cool.
It would be tango music. Yeah, man, that's a
Well, if you could even do the Mega Man Killers, and those were just punk and ballad, and there's one more guy. I don't remember it. There's a lot, man. I don't know. You could do so many cool things.
Yeah, it could be a mix musical.
Yes, I would take it. I don't know. The genre, you know what it is? Eric has spoiled me. I'm just used to him being able to do whatever he wants with every genre. So that's why I'm like, yeah, throw them all in. Let Eric be in charge of it. He'll do a great job.
There we go. If you can have a cameo appearance in any movie or show, which one would it be and what role would you play?
It would be in The Wizard. And it would just be me in the background being like... It would just be me trying to warn people that the Power Glove is not as good as it.
It's so bad, and you're behind him's like.
It kind of is bad. It just, I would be doing it accurately, where you're just weird, sticking your arm out straight, nothing's lining up. Yeah, that might be the extent of, or because my wife likes a lot of true crime shows, I'd be one of the victims or a cadaver or something.
Yeah. And
then they but it would be a fun one with video games. Let's see. You know what it is? It'd be like X-Files, where they did an episode. There's an episode with young Jack Black in the X-Files. And he's in charge of an arcade. And it's just fascinating to watch. I don't remember what year and episode, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
It's on Hulu, Jack Black, X-Files. It's just fun. That would be a fun thing to do. I'd never get that chance, right? But I could totally be the doesn't have his shit together arcade clerk, I could do that as a cameo role.
Understood.
Yeah.
If you could attend any fictional event, for example, the Ewok celebration in Return of the Jedi, which one would it be and why?
Man, I really do love the Ewok celebration, though. It is such a jovial celebration. It is hard to... That's a really good party.
That's why I use it as the example.
It's so good. Probably. It's not really an event, but it would be the marketplace in Ocarina of Time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where you just get in and that music is playing, dun, 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 and just walk around that way. And it's just probably be a Ren Fair experience, you know?
Yeah, man. I love it. If you had to guess, what would you say is the song you listen to the most times in your life?
The most times. Crap, man. That's tough. I don't know. Man, just makes me wonder, right? Like, I really wish that at the end of my life, I could just see a breakdown of like all my stats, and then I could actually know what the most listened to song was.
Yeah,
it probably is a video game track, but it, you know, it probably is like Green Day. It probably is like Basket Case or something. You know, I'm sure there were enough hours as a teen in angst where I got, you know, topped out on whatever song that is. Like it's got to be something like that. Otherwise, it's probably Guile's thing. I probably listen to that the most.
Yeah, man, it's so good. It's so hard not to like put that on repeat.
Yeah. Well, like, the other thing, too, is, you know, I grew up listening to OC Remix all the time. So, like, listening to Guile's theme isn't just listening to Guile's theme. It's also, like, here's Guile's theme as, like, ska, right? Or Guile's theme as, like, metal. Or Guile's theme, you know, whatever other genre you want to pick. It's probably Guile's theme. It's probably the winner.
Understood. What would your 14-year-old self think of who you are today?
I sure hope they would think this is pretty cool. Like, I think they would find a lot of stuff really cool. I think they would, my 14-year-old self would definitely think all the games that I've been able to work on, especially the last couple of years, are, like, very fulfilling to work on. I think they would, 14. Yeah, they would be pretty impressed with me, I'd say. 14, doing, you know, man, what else would they... Man, I wish I had a more insightful... They would just think it's really cool. Yeah. Like, I mean, that is honestly the truth, though. Like, because I think when I was 14, this, to some extent, was always kind of what I had wanted to do. Like, I decided very early on that I wanted to be an artist, right? Like, 3 years old enough where Dad had to be like, no, you know, this is going to be kind of a pain in the ass, right? You know, and so, like, it's kind of always been a thing for me. So I think that the stuff that would, like, geek out 14-year-old me is some of this other stuff that has happened, right? Where, like, going to Indie Land and meeting, like, all these really talented creative devs and stuff, that was mind-blowing to me. That was really amazing. That, you know, so that's been, stuff that, like, I wouldn't have been able to fathom so much of this stuff as a 14-year-old. So I'm sure on one hand I'd be like, wow, it's really cool. But then he'd probably be like, what else? Like, you know, is there another Mega Man game out yet? Like, maybe something like, you're only at what number? Are you sure? At this pace? Yeah. Yeah, that's probably about it.
Awesome. Well, it is now time for you to recommend 3 people that when your episode comes out, you'll share this with, that you think they'll be a good guest on the show and that you're going to help me get them on the show. Yeah.
Well, first, I definitely would love to get Zoo on here from Berserk Boy Games. He is a lot of fun to be around. He's a really good guy, and he makes a lot of fun games, man. He he's a huge Mega Man fan, too. I would recommend anybody play Berserk Boy. If they like Elsie, they should also play Berserk Boy. And let's see. I can poke around and see if somebody, might be a little shy, but maybe somebody from Digital Eclipse would be interested in at least coming on and talking about Power Rangers, the Power Ranger game, because, you know, there's been so much love put into that game, too, especially when it comes to making sure fans are, you know, being fed well.
Yeah. Understood. Well, yeah, let's do what we can to get them on the show. Do you have any final thoughts?
Man, thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun just talk about this stuff. I hope I didn't go on too many random wild tangents. But yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun. I could ramble about this stuff forever. That's probably why Pedro was so enthusiastic about recommending me. But shit, man, it's so much fun to talk about this stuff. I could do it forever, yeah.
Yeah, man, and that's kind of also the reason why I even made this show to begin with, because I can't talk about it forever. Well, Thank you so much for saying that. It really means a lot. I'm super happy that, like, I always strive to, like, make sure my guests are also having fun because, you know, yeah, it's an interview, but like I said before we started recording, there's also a conversation. We're supposed to have fun. So I think I achieved my goal today with you, and I really, really appreciate that, and I really appreciate your time. And again, fantastic work on Elsie. You guys did an amazing thing, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it in the future. So thank you so much, Danny.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, Jared. And thanks for doing an amazing podcast. I've been listening to Razzle Dazzle while I work.
Well, that means a lot.
I really like hearing it. I love hearing it's Razzle Dazzle time. How about it?
Yeah, man. Thank you. That made my day, dude.
Yeah, bro. Of course.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. If you want to hear more from Danny, please be sure to check out his website, DannyFlexner.com, and be sure to follow him on X and Blue Sky. And don't forget to check out Elsie and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, out now on all consoles by our friends Night Shift Games and Digital Eclipse. Links to everything will be in the description down below. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at RazDaz Show Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one.
Next time on the Razzle Dazzle Show.
Like, quick off topic. Have you guys seen Twilight Breaking Down Part 2?
Dang it, that's the only one I haven't seen.
Are you being serious, though?
No, I've only seen the first Twilight movie.
Do you care for spoils?
I do not care.
All right, that whole movie was a lie.
What?
That's literally the best way to put it. Like, you lead up to this nice big event, then the big event happens, people start dropping left and right, and then snap, it was a lie. And it was just like,
So how is this connecting with feeling the reason Wally was?
It was the whole, like, you gave me closure, and then closure was a lie.
Tune in next week.